Hello, a very warm welcome to the Virtual Singapore Sustainability Academy, also known as the SSA. My name, the voice you've been hearing all this time, is Xavier. I'm from NLB, the National Library Board, and I'm your host for this session. So welcome to the Storytelling at My Treehouse, jointly organized by City Developments Limited and the National Library Board. Today, you'll be learning from a very special someone with close to 10 years of experience in storytelling. So this special person is Shimah. Shimah is a colleague and a friend from NLB, and she was also one of NLB's first librarians that spearheaded the National Library Board's digital storytelling initiative during last year's Circuit Breaker. I'm sure you guys remember Circuit Breaker last year, right? So, next slide, please. All right. Before we begin, let me share with you briefly about my treehouse. I hope some people have been to this place. You can see from the pictures, right? It's the world's first green library for kids, and it's located in the cozy basement of the National Library building. So some historical facts, some history for you here. It was opened in May 2013, and it was specially designed to cultivate children's love for environmental conservation. So my treehouse has over 72,000 book titles, with more than 30% of them focused on green topics like environmental conservation, animals, plants, water. So my treehouse has also organized over 400 eco programs since its opening in 2013, including 2 biodiversity carnivals, eco science workshops every school holidays, so you know what to do next time, and frequently has invited featured speakers over to share their work and perspective on sustainability. Right. So now we are all in a pandemic, right? So physical spaces all over Singapore, including our libraries, are much more quieter. But if you ever find yourself, maybe when your parents take you there, or you feel like itchy to read some exciting books about nature, please drop by our library, whether now or after the pandemic is over, hopefully, all right? So next slide, please. All right, allow me to share about this storytelling contest, which is why some of us are here also, to find out how we can participate best for this competition. So this is the second iteration of the Eco Storytelling Contest. The first is held last year, 2020, because of Circuit Breaker, the lockdown that happened, right? So this contest is intended to give the families and children a chance to express your creativity and also share your environmental aspirations. So for more information about this, you can scan the QR code or go to the link, but not to worry. There's also going to be this QR code and link at the back of this presentation later. Now, to help everyone create interesting and winning entries for the storytelling contest, today we have the special privilege of hearing from Ms. Shimah on the secrets of telling a good story. So it's not going to be me, it's going to be Shimah, right? So everyone, now, housekeeping rules, guys, so pay attention. Everyone who is viewing this webinar right now, you should be able to see 2 screens, one with the speaker, that's me, and the other with the slides. You can make either of these screens bigger or smaller by shifting the slider in the middle. And at any point during this webinar, you can key in any questions you have by clicking on the Q&A button on your panel, Q&A, all right? So now I see a lot of people are blowing up the general chat, but when you want to ask questions of the speaker, ask it in the Q&A. Why? Because we get to vote for your questions. You get to vote for the questions you want to hear answered. And that means that we will not just have a bunch of questions just thrown everywhere, right? So try not to ask it in the normal chat like you are now. And if you like any of the questions that was asked in the Q&A, just press the vote button beside it, right? So we can see which are the ones that are bumped up to the top. Right, so now, without any further ado, let me call upon Shimah to share with us how we can all become better storytellers. On to you, Shimah.
Hi, hello everyone. Thanks Xavier for the introduction. I'm Shimah, librarian with the National Library Board. Today I'm going to share a few storytelling tips for you so you can better well prepare for your eco video, all right? So here's the brief outline of the sharing. So I'm going to share a bit on the benefits of storytelling, and then I'm going to go into the basics of storytelling, which includes choosing stories and also basic skills you can use for your video. And then I'm going to share a bit of the different types of storytelling, so you can explore and up your game for your videos. And lastly, I'm going to share a number of tips and resources that you can use. So at the end of the session, I hope you will be able to choose stories suitable for your storytelling, tell stories with basic storytelling skills that I've shared, and tell stories using props, puppets, slides, anything you can find around you, okay? So benefits of storytelling. So storytelling helps you to develop language skills, and there are 4 skills: read, speak, write, and listen. So how does storytelling help? So first, you have to read a variety of books to choose your stories. So that will help you develop your reading skills. And then speaking, because once you practice storytelling, you will learn how to speak and how to deliver something. And when you tell stories to others, you also learn how to talk to them. And in some stories, there are dialogues, so you can practice speaking with people through these stories. And writing. So when you read a lot of stories, you tell a lot of stories, you learn about sentence structure, and then you pick up new words. So you build up your vocab, right? So that's how you develop your writing skills. And lastly, listen. So when you tell stories, you also have to listen to your audience. So that's how you develop your listening skills. And also when you tell stories with someone else, let's say you're role playing with someone else, you'll have to listen for your partner, right? Where your partner starts and ends so that you can jump in and continue the story. So what's the purpose of storytelling? There are many purposes for storytelling, but I will share 3 important ones I think are important. First, to share knowledge. Stories are used to share knowledge from the past or from someone else. For example, in folktales, you learn about different cultures and traditions, right? That's how you share knowledge. And for spreading a message. So let's say for this eco contest, choose a story that encourages people to take action to save the earth or protect our planet. So then you encourage people to take action, right? Next, remember important historical events. For example, the first astronauts to go land on the moon or to go to space. So there are stories that talks about this so that we can remember that this happened in the past and acknowledge all the people who are part of it. So here is the first thing you have to take note. Choosing stories. So here are some guidelines for you to take note. The first one is storyline. When you're choosing your story, make sure there's a beginning. Why? Because the beginning introduces all the characters, sets the place and time so that your audience kind of understand where you're coming from or where the story begins. Next, the conflict. Conflict meaning problem. An example of a problem would be, there's a beach near our school and there's a lot of plastic pollution. So what are you going to do about it? So that's a conflict. And next, an ending. Of course, if there's a problem, you have to solve it, right? So what did all these children do to save their beach? By clearing up the plastic. So it's good to include an ending in your story so that people will know what they can do after listening to your story. Next, look at characters. So you have to understand your audience. If your audience are children the same age as you, then the characters in the stories also have to be the same age, because only then you can better understand your characters and empathize, right? And find things or situations that they are going through to be more relatable. Next will be the 5 fingers rule. So 5 fingers rule means you have to count the number of difficult words you have in the story. Let's say if you encounter 5 or more difficult words, that means the story is too hard, okay? If you encounter 1 to 2 difficult words, it might be a little easy, but that's still okay. I would suggest you try and find stories with maybe 3 or 4 difficult words so that your friends or your audience can learn some new words while also understand the story that you're telling. Next, theme. So what's the theme for this contest? We love our planet. That's right. So you have to choose a story that fits the theme of this contest, right? And as a subcategory or sub-theme that you can include will be friendship, community engagement, community involvement, so that you kind of suggest or encourage people to work together to save the planet. Next, interests. I'm sure you know your audience interests, right? Because all of them will probably be the same age as you. So maybe children, you like playing outdoors. So find a story that talks about saving the planet or taking care of the planet outdoors, going on nature trails, appreciating nature. Next, the last one. These are additional things that you can take note, okay? It's not necessary, but it will be good if you do, because then you'll be able to engage your audience. So include rhymes, songs, poems, all of this, and get your audience to participate with you. Songs are the best because it makes people remember things very easily. And most importantly, choose a story that you love, of course, because if you don't love and believe in the story, then your passion and your sincerity will not be able to shine through. So make sure you love your story that you're sharing, okay? So here are 4 basic skills you can use for storytelling. The first 2, gestures and facial expressions, uses the body, all right? Volume and different tones uses the voice. So let's look at gestures. Gestures highlight a character's personality or emphasize a point in the sentence. For example, I open the door, close the door, eat, drink, fly, I'm happy, I'm pretty flower, or I have long, luscious hair like Rapunzel. Next, using facial expressions to portray a character's emotion. Just imagine if your storyteller were to not do any facial expressions and just tell you the story with a straight face like this. That would be very boring, right? So use your facial expressions. If your character is angry, make sure you show a frown on your face. You can see all the wrinkles here. If you're sad, make sure your eyes are drooping, mouth is drooping, and you're crying. If your character is scared, I'm scared. If your character is shy, you have to look down, away, and don't make eye contact. So there are many ways to use your facial expressions to portray your character's emotions. Okay, next, volume, to express a character's size or power and even emotions. For example, in the story for some Gulliver's Travel, you have a giant, the big people, right? Would the big people talk with a squeaky voice that's more like this? Of course not. They will speak in a very loud voice. Can you hear me? And if you have the little people, of course they will sound very minute like this, right? Because they're very small. Yeah. So next, let's look at different tones. So different tones of voice help you to differentiate the different characters and give them personalities, and also set the mood of the story. So let's say I have a rough, angry lion. I will talk like this. But if I'm a squeaky mouse, I will talk like this. Squeak, squeak. And let's say I'm telling a spooky story. I will whisper like this, right? Because I want to set the mood and make it really scary for you. So this is how you use your body and your voice to tell stories. Okay, next. Okay, so I'm going to show you some examples of how you can use all these 4 skills for storytelling. So the first story, I'm going to share a little bit about it, just an introduction to 2 characters. Okay, the first story is Babak the Beetle. So I like this story because it's very funny. So Babak is a dung beetle. Okay, and all he does all day is collect dung. But one day he came across a ball that's very white and round, and he thought it was an egg. So he went out on an adventure to find its parents. Let's see. So in the story, he met a few animals. I'm going to show you when he met Mrs. Frog and when he met Mrs. Snake, so you can differentiate how you can use the 4 basic skills, all right? So first, he met Mrs. Frog. So Babak, I would think he's very timid because he lives most of his life alone, gathering dung. So I would give him a bit of a timid kind of personality. But Mrs. Frog, I would think she's very jovial, very loud, very friendly. So let's see how I'm going to use the 4 basic skills in this. Excuse me, Mrs. Frog, but I have an egg here and I'm searching for its family. An egg? Just one? My friend, you should know that I lay thousands of eggs in big transparent piles. You can even see my children inside them. Come look. Babak was very impressed, but also a little sickened because they looked like little jelly eyes. Okay, next he met Mrs. Snake. So Let's see. What kind of voice and tone or volume will I use for Mrs. Snake? Let's look at the picture. It's not loading. Okay, so I would think Mrs. Snake would be more calm, more mysterious, and more elegant. So I would give her a kind of different voice, and she speaks slower. And snakes likes to hiss. So any word I see with the letter S, I will try and drag it. Okay, let's see how this goes. Please, excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, but I found an egg. Would it be one of yours by any chance? Let me see. Little dung beetle? No, I'm sorry. Our eggs are smooth and elongated, but I do know where this one comes from. I swallowed one once and I never did digest it. It was at the edge of those large fields over there. So now you can see the difference between Mrs. Frog, Mrs. Snake, and Baba. That's how you use gestures, facial expressions, volume, and tones. Next, let's show you another example. This is a different kind of story, The Digger and the Flower. So it talks about construction sites, okay, how cities are built. So what happened is that all these big trucks and diggers, crane, everything, all these machines that you see at the construction site, they all brought to this one site to build a city. So they started building buildings, tall ones, and roads so that people can get from point A to point B. But after a while, they realized that there's only one plot of land left that has nothing on it yet. Every space but one. You can see all the trucks looking at one thing, okay? So then there comes Crane. Crane, I would assume he's very authoritative. He's going to sound very bossy and loud. So, we need to put a building here, said Crane. Dozer started his engine. Use your voice to make some sounds. Before Digger could stop him. Dozer blew a big puff of smoke. Boom! And cut the flower down. Oh no, what do you think happened? So then Digger was left all alone. Then the other big trucks went back to work, but Digger did not. When the smoke cleared, Digger saw something in the rubble. Little seeds, he said. And he scooped them up and drove. Okay, so the previous two examples, we had pictures. So now let's try this. I'll give you a few seconds. There are no pictures here. Try and use volume, pacing, timing to say this out loud. Just a few seconds. You managed to do it? Okay. If not, I'll show you an example. So are you ready? In the dark, dark wood, there was a dark, dark house. And in that dark, dark house, there was a dark, dark room. And in that dark, dark room, there was a dark, dark cupboard. And in the dark, dark cupboard, there was a dark, dark shelf. And in the dark, dark shelf, there was a dark, dark box. And in the dark, dark box, there was ghosts. Okay, so that's how you use volume, pacing, and timing. I hope I didn't shock you there because I'm speaking through the mic, so it might sound louder than in real life, okay? So next, now we've done all the basics. We've shows our stories, we've practiced with our skills. Now, what types of storytelling are there that we can do? Okay, so what in the library you usually see is story reading, right? You have, or your teachers, what you see is they have a book and then they read the book to you and then you join them, or they have pictures and slides. Well, story reading is the most basic type of storytelling, but sometimes when you're too focused on reading the story and looking at the book, you're not focused on your audience. So if you want to up your game for your video, you can try all these other examples, okay? First, using puppets or dress up. All of this you can find in your home. You don't have to purchase anything. No, that's not the point. You're supposed to use whatever you have at home. So for example, I have different soft toys, okay? Use your soft toys like that. They can be the rabbit in the story, right? And I have other things. I have an owl. It can also be another character in my story, right? Many of these you can use. And you can also dress up. And if you have any spare cardboard lying around after you've got your delivery of groceries or whatever your parents got, you can cut up all this cardboard, grab your pen and pencils and draw something. So let's say I did something here. I made a panda. So I cut out a circle, cut out the ears and use my markers to fill in to draw in the panda. And I even cut out a stick here so I can use it like this around. Okay, my story. Another thing I did was make a house. Okay, nice little house like this. So I can use them together. Now I have different props to use together. I can have panda, hide behind the house. So all these all using recycled materials, all right? Whatever I have at home. So you don't have to buy that. And if you have like, for example, toilet rolls, this one simple object can be many things. So for example, this can be a telescope. All right, this can be a microphone. Okay, it can be a recorder or flute, maybe. Many things you can do, just one toilet roll. So use your imagination for everything, okay? So next, the next type of storytelling is draw and tell. This one is a bit difficult, but with practice, I'm sure you can do it. It's not a common type of storytelling you see, but I'm going to share with you a story by Richard Thompson. So this is a copyrighted story, so I'm just going to share parts of it, the main storyline, so you know how to use drawing as part of your storytelling, okay? So for this story, it's called No Pets Allowed. So I have a paper here. You can grab even a cardboard that's empty or any recycled paper you have at home. Like the other side is empty, so you just use it and grab any pen or marker, okay? So first, the story is about a boy named Alex. Okay, he would like to have a pet. But the thing is, he lives in a little apartment with his family. Very small, right? A very small house. And there's a tiny garden. Okay, very, very small house. And every day he goes to school, he hears about his classmates having pets at home. And he gets so excited because, wow, everyone has pets. I want a pet too. But we all know having a pet takes a lot of responsibility. So of course his parents said, no, you can't have a pet. But he's a very persistent boy. So every day after school, he will go up to his parents and keep asking for a pet. And of course, the answer is no, exactly. So every day. So I'm just going to draw some more X's here to show his attempt at getting a pet. Yeah, many days. I think it's about a week now. So after a while, he got really disappointed. Like, okay, I can't get a pet. So when he was walking home, just wandered around a bit, around the park. And along the way, he met his friends, was walking with their dogs, their cats, or playing with their hamster, and felt more sad. Yeah. So after a while, he met a mysterious man behind a tree. And you know, you're not supposed to talk to strangers, but he did anyway. And the man gave him a magic fish. So he brought it home. Magic fish. So after that, he went home and then he showed his mom, I have a magic fish now. But his mom said, of course, yes or no? No, you can't have a pet, of course. So we have a fish here. So being an irresponsible boy, he decided to release the fish in the river, which is not what you're supposed to do, right? That's a wrong example, wrong behavior. So after that, he went home and after a while, he forgot about the fish. And then they moved to the countryside because his parents could afford a bigger house. So that's where they went. Slightly bigger, but at least it's their own house, right? And there was a garden too. So he thought, okay, great. So my parents will probably say yes now, right? To a pet. So he didn't ask his parents' permission. He just went to the river behind his house to find an animal. And what animal is it? Yes, it's an alligator. So for this story, usually I will share some facts or information about pet ownership, pet abandonment, and why it's illegal, and illegal wildlife trade. Why you shouldn't just grab any animals from the wild and keep it at home, because that's not how it should be. All right. So you can use stories to spread your message this way, like this one. Okay. So there are a lot of stories online. You can Google and find some stories. And if you find that it's not easy to come up with the drawings, you can follow one of the drawings, but come up with your own story to be paired with the drawings. All right. Next is storygami. Storygami, yes, you guessed it. It's storytelling with origami. So there are points in the story where you will show an object that is related to the story. So for this one, there's a very famous person who wrote many storygami stories, and she's Rachel Katz. So you can find her online and take a look at the story she has uploaded. Okay, it's all her original stories. So if you want to use it, you have to make sure it's copyright free. Okay, so this story is about bunny Olympics. So it's about two bunnies living at the top of the mountain. So what's the first thing I'm going to show? It's the mountain, of course. Okay, so the bunnies are living at the top of the mountain. So one bunny is called Tim, one bunny is called Tom. They both have different personalities. Okay, Tim is a bit more timid and a bit more emotional. Well, Tom is all about positive and happy-go-lucky, and he's very caring. So he takes care of Tim very well. So that's why both of them complement each other very, very well. So one day they were playing at the top of the mountain, and they heard a lot of noise at the foot of the mountain. And when they looked down, they saw that there was a marathon, but they weren't invited. So Tim felt a bit disappointed and said, "Oh, why didn't the other animals invite us?" But Tom said, "Oh, look at all the animals participating. They're all big and strong. We are just bunnies. Us running with all these big animals would be very risky and dangerous." Yeah, but Tom suggested that they go down to watch the marathon anyway. So both of the bunnies went down to the foot of the mountain to cheer on their friends and, join the marathon party. So after a while, they got hungry and the weather's really hot. It was really hot. So they went into the ice cream store to get ice cream, and there were rows of ice cream flavors. So they chose two flavors, one strawberry and one chocolate. So they ended up with ice cream. Yum, 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 yum. Okay, so when they got the ice cream and decided to go out the ice cream store, but they didn't look left and right. When we want to cross streets and want to get out, we have to look left and right to make sure they're clear, right? But they didn't. So someone bumped into Tim and he dropped his ice cream. Pop, and he only left with the cone. And then he started crying. Oh, no, I don't have my ice cream. And Tom, being the kind friend that he is, gave half of his ice cream to Tim. So now they have half ice cream. So both of them happily ate the ice cream. So then the sun started to set and it's time to go home. So Tom decided to suggested that they race up the mountain. So that's what they did. So on the count of 3, they ran up to the top. And Tim is a bit more athletic, so he reached the top first. But he didn't see where he was going, so he tripped and fell to the side of the road. And after that, Tom reached the top and he started looking for Tim. Tim, where are you? I can't see you. And he heard someone whimpering at the side. Oh, help me. And he looked and he saw that it was Tim. So he looked at Tim and said, "Hey, are you okay? Let me help you out." So he lifted up his friend and they hopped away back home together. So that's how the Bunny Olympics ended. So if you are, confident in doing origami and telling your story together with this, you can try out this method of storytelling, okay? So as a summary, here are some tips and resources for you. First, choose a story that fits the theme. We love our planet. Okay, this is based on the scoring criteria. And use a story that matches your eco-aspiration. This is the important part, right? You're encouraging others to take action, okay, or to join you in your movement or whatever you're doing to make this planet a wonderful place. Then after that, you have to look at your delivery. So you have to learn your story. You don't really have to memorize. Like for me, I don't really memorize, but I take note of the outline of the story so that I know how to link the key points together. So then you have to practice. Then you can get some fluency and clarity from that, scores from that. Next, use your voice. volume, pacing, timing. Your voice is your tool. Use it. Use your body language and facial expressions. Okay. Try out different types of storytelling. Okay. So if you want to edge over everybody else, try out the different types of storytelling. Okay. And of course, practice, practice, practice. I know that you'll be recording a video, but practice makes everything much easier, right? And if you want more inspiration, you can watch all of our storytime videos at childrenandteens.nlb.gov.sg. We have a lot of videos from the librarians and our volunteers, our dedicated volunteers. So you can check them out for inspiration. So that's all from me. Thank you so much and all the best.
All right. Thank you once again, Shimah. Thank you so much for this. I'm sure your tips and secrets will come in useful for all the enthusiastic young friends we have out there who are getting ready to win this storytelling contest, right? So now, the next part of this workshop is quite exciting. We're going to hear from some of the old participants, the past participants of 2020's contest. So with us today, we have Nafisa, Mandy, Marcus, and Matthew, right? So let me give everyone here like a bit of an introduction to them. So Nafisa is 11 years old this year. Can we have them on screen? Yes, look at their wonderful faces. Okay, now you see, okay, now we have some context of what I'm saying. Okay, on the top, we have Mandy and her two sons, Marcus and Matthew. At the bottom, we have Nafisa, right? So we have a wide range of people who participated in last year's contest. And as you can tell, Nafisa is quite young. She's actually 11 this year, which means that she was 10 when she participated in the contest last year. And Mandy was quite unique also because she participated as a family together with her two sons. Okay, so some background for everyone. Nafisa actually told her original story, so maybe she'll share a bit about that later. And Mandy and her sons, they shared a story called Captain Green and the Plastic Scene. They adapted it for their own storytelling. So now, first and foremost, would you two like to introduce yourselves? So Mandy first. Yeah.
Well, hi, I'm Mandy. These are my two beautiful sons. And your names are?
Marcus.
Yeah, Matthew and Marcus. Yeah, and he is 5 now, and Matthew is turning 8 this year.
Awesome. All right, how about you, Nafisa? Would you like to say a few words to introduce yourself as well?
Yeah, my name is Nafisa and I'm 11 years old. I take a great interest in reading, writing, and storytelling. I use every opportunity I have to read. I try my best to enter many competitions.
Enter many competitions. Wow, we have quite a competitor here, right? So now, to get the ball rolling, right, I'm going to ask a few questions first, and then we'll have this very easygoing conversation, right? So to begin with, for Nafisa, the question is for you. How did you decide on which story to present? Because as we all know, yours is an original story, right?
Knowing that the theme was about the environment, I watched a documentary regarding global warming and how it affects the habitat of polar bears living in the Arctic. I liked the plot as it had many emotional scenarios, so there were many expressions that I could convey while presenting the story.
Nice. And did you, how was the filming process like for you? You know, because you did it alone, right? Did you have help? Like, how was it?
I had help. Yeah, it took me, my mother, and my father a long time to decide on a perfect background, but finally we found it by shifting the bed. A computer sitting on the tables contained my script, while my father's handphone became the camera. We had to do the whole story over and over again because there were some bloopers like sirens wailing and babies crying. Finally, after many tries, we made the perfect video. We edited it and it became the video I gave to the competition.
Awesome. Yeah, actually, as a person myself who also recorded storytelling videos and many NLB librarians, right, we can totally understand the bloopers because sometimes your parents say like something like, "Oh, dinner is ready," then you're just like, "Oh man, I have to shoot the entire thing again." Yeah. So thank you, Nafisa, for sharing. Now on to Mandy for a quick moment. For Mandy, what about yourself? How was the filming process like, especially when you had like 2 extra rascals to handle in your filming process?
Yeah. Well, that's a very good question. Thanks, Xavier. I think our filming process is very different because having 2 young kids, you know, very energetic boys. So to get them to, you know, focus, sit down for an extended period of time was very hard. I think I had to set the expectations for them. So I had to tell them that it's gonna take a while So it's not going to be something that will finish in half an hour. But I think what we didn't expect was that it took longer than a while. So yeah, it will take a long time, but we actually broke the story up. So into its introduction, the first body part, second body part, and then ended it with our aspirations and the conclusion and what we'd like to tell everyone. And so in between those breaks, we've had, lots of treats. And we're like, okay, let's take a break, let's go and have some ice cream or a snack. But we managed to finish in a couple of hours. Yeah.
When you say a long time, you mean like a couple of hours over a few days, is what you mean? Or over one day itself? Yeah.
We did it one day? Yeah, we managed it in one day.
Nice.
Yeah,
nice.
in that, a couple of hours.
Lots of bloopers as well, I presume.
Yes, lots, definitely. We had to retake one scene probably multiple times. Yeah.
You mentioned treats, right? So what are your son's weaknesses when it comes to the snacks that you entice them with to sit down and do the stories?
What are your favorite treats? What are your favorite treats? Everything.
Everything. Okay,
and
that's
anything.
Very generous with their preferences.
But we'll try to keep it healthy though.
Yeah, they look very like healthy, handsome boys, So obviously the treats did not do them any harm. For Nafisa yourself, do you also take a few hours to finish your storytelling?
Yeah, it took about 5 hours.
Can you share with us, Nafisa, like when you had help from your family, and obviously you are the star of the story, but how would you like tell your other young friends, like if they want to compete in the storytelling contest or participate, right? Like how would they bring their parents on board? Do you get their parents to help them do the cameras? I know they moved a bit, but what other things can they help with also?
They can help teach you expressions because my mother is a public speaker. She knows how to do a lot of expressions, and my father is a very good cameraman. He takes a lot of videos and helps me edit the videos. They both help me with the plot and my language.
Yeah, and you're very like your voice is really pleasant. You can tell you're quite confident in front of a camera. So Mandy, just now you said you had a lot of trouble with like, I guess not trouble is the wrong word, but there was challenges in shooting with your sons. Would you say overall you had fun practicing and preparing for filming in general?
Did you all have fun? Oh. Mixed responses, which is only a bit. Well, we did have fun. But I mean, in all honesty, there were, bits where it was very tiring. Right?
At the first start, we did very slow.
We were very slow when we started off. I think it's just getting the momentum, right? Going and then getting comfortable with being in front of a camera. And yeah, but overall we did have fun. I mean, I gave the kids an option, if you're really tired, shall we do this another day? And they said, no, we want to finish it. And it was a absolutely wonderful bonding time. I think up to this day they actually remember the whole process. Yeah, and the story.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So I guess it's very nice because we have you, Mandy, who did the family portion, and then Nafisa, who did like the solo portion, right? So I have a question for both of you. I guess I can start with Nafisa first and Mandy later. Would you do it again? And what advice would you give for people who are competing in your category, meaning like alone, by yourself as a solo storyteller, Nafisa?
Yes, I would do it again because I think I can improve a lot from my previous videos, and I think you cannot do it alone. You need a lot of help from other people, but yeah.
Yeah, cannot do it alone. So you hear that, kids, those that are listening, if you wish to participate in this contest, approach your parents, ask them nicely, maybe promise to do some house chores, and then you can see what magic you can cook up in your homes as now during this kind of restrictions period, okay? So for Mandy yourself, would you advise, more or less like, would you do it again, number one? And number two, if there were any parents, and I'm sure they are out there listening, and they want to give this a go, like what would you like advise them to do? Maybe that could be just like, don't give up, or like more technical stuff like, oh, choose a story that has maybe a few characters, etc. Like, what would you advise? Yeah.
Would you guys do it again? Would you do it again?
Be careful what you say, Matthew and Marcus.
Oh, you can say it louder. You can say it louder to the screen.
You say means
actually
must do it.
they whispered yes.
All right, then we'll see your entries for both of you this year. So this is a promise on verbal promise. All right. So
Yes.
what advice would you give families who want to shoot with each other in this
Yeah,
competition?
definitely choose a story that the kids would do. So I actually got my kids to choose a story. Like, what do you want to talk on? Get their input, right? And have and choose a story that's simple enough.
Simple
That they're
enough,
able to tell without referring too much to it, or able to grasp the big theme of the
I
issue,
see.
and then just have fun.
Yeah, the most
And
important is
have
to have
fun.
fun. Yeah, and I like that you
Yeah.
made them choose the book so they have some kind of buy-in also, right? It's not like, oh, mom is making us do this. It's like, no, we love this story, right? Yeah, I'm sure
Yeah,
Nafisa also came up with her own story, so she has this connection to the story that she made. All right, so I guess we'll wrap up this sharing. I'm very grateful that you guys made the time to come here, and I'm so happy that you guys had a good time. And honestly, I'm serious. You guys have to participate this year since you already said yes. Okay, so we'll see you around. Yeah. Okay. Now we will. In that case, would you have any like closing words to say goodbye to everyone that's listening? No? Then just goodbye. Everyone wave at them even though they can't see you. Goodbye. Okay, great. We'll now shift the focus over to Shimah, who will now take the other questions for Q&A. Yeah, thanks so much, guys. I really appreciate it. Yeah, once again. So let me just pull up the Q&A section here. All right, first of the list, this is a democracy, so we shall see who has the most votes for their questions. The first question on the right at the top is by Amelia, and she asked, like, do you always recommend using different stories or books, or is it better to reread something a few times to establish a routine? I guess what she's asking is like whether or not you always tell different stories to your kids, or you just read the same story over and over to them. Yeah. So what do you think, Shimah?
Okay, for me, it's a good to have a bit of both because I like to read widely. So I like to tell different stories to the audience, to the children I read to. And if after a while, then I will go back to some stories that they've heard before to re-emphasize the themes and like to help them learn the words inside. But I think you shouldn't restrict yourself to reading like the same few books. You should read widely. That's what we encourage you to do, so that your child can think like more for themselves and develop further that way. Because if you keep re-emphasizing the same stories, also it can get quite boring and repetitive after a while. And you want to make reading enjoyable, not something like school. So yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And also, like, if you make them read the same stories too much, after a while, it gets harder for them to like shift out of that story, right?
Yeah, because they
hear
can
that story again. Yeah.
Exactly, and they can predict what happens. So after a while,
keep
you
it
have
fresh.
to like, yeah, correct, yes.
Okay, thanks for that answer. The next question on the second of the line is by Iris. She wants to know what are some of the best books and stories to tell our children or young relatives. So I guess she's asking for recommendations in this case.
Yeah, I guess. Okay, so I don't have like a list of best books, but I know that children, they love any story with a lot of humor or wit inside. So any of those is fine. Like Babak the Beetle. There's also the series by John Classen. His stories are very simple but very impactful. So I recommend some books from him. Oliver Jeffers. There are a lot of children's picture book writers out there, and their stories are actually I usually try and get like stories that gets the child thinking. So I think that would be good. Those kind of stories would be good. Yeah.
Makes them think and makes them laugh, right? Probably.
Yes, of course. Because that's how you get their attention. If there's no humor, it's just a boring story, then it won't be engaged.
Got it.
Yeah.
And the next question we have is from Ms. Shirley. She wants to know, how can we gain and maintain the interest of children who might not necessarily have the best attention span? This is something that as children librarians, we probably have to deal with a lot. So hit it off, man.
Yes. So what I do is I always insert breaks in my story. So the breaks are like, okay, I will stop at this page and then I'll ask them, so what do you see here? What do you see on this page? How is the character feeling? And then what do you think will happen next? So I always insert breaks after like maybe 3 to 4 pages to get them to like just stop and like refresh and get their attention again. Because if I just continue and don't acknowledge them, then they will just zone out. So that's how you can get their interest for
Yeah, definitely.
storytelling. Yeah, or you can use actions in your stories. For example, like have some songs in your stories, and then you have to tell them beforehand, before you start your storytelling session, that that you want them to sing some songs with them and their actions to do, and then you'll tell them the sequence. So maybe like, for example, The Boy in the Dragon Palace, written by Margaret Ray MacDonald, she has this part where the child, we get the fisherman will prepare a dish for the child, right? So I will get the audience to prepare the dish with me. So I will tell them the sequence is like this. The man will go to the market first and he will come back and to prepare the dish. And then that's when you guys all come in and help me cook the dish. So we'll have our bowl and then we pour in the ingredients and we mix them all together. Something like that. So you have to cue them before so they can take part in the storytelling with you.
Agreed. Yeah, I think parents who are listening also and children, like I guess it makes a lot more sense, because when storytelling happens, it's a very intimate moment between like the parent or the storyteller and the child. So like you are sharing something like in real time. Yeah, and it's, I guess you can use your gestures and even touch to kind of convey like meanings of the story as well. Yeah.
Yes.
So that's how you get their attention. So the next question is by Victor, and I think this is answered by Shimah earlier. He asked, should we avoid anything negative? And I think Shimah already shared that the best stories to share are funny. So I don't think funny and negativity go very well together, unless Shimah disagrees.
Okay, so for example, if the story has some bullies inside, some behaviors that are not really very pleasant, but I think we should still share the story so that the child is aware that such behavior is not encouraged. And if you see someone being bullied, then you should help out. So definitely at the end, the story has to end in a positive note and there's something to take away from it. So if you want to share a story that has something negative, for example, but for themes such as like, death, that one is very personal and I don't have a close relationship with the child to share such stories. So I will leave it to parents and their guardians to share stories that are related to that theme. Yeah.
Yeah, there are exceptions, I suppose.
Yes.
The next question would be by Sentil. Sorry. The question is, what kind of books do you guys recommend? Is it a similar question, you think, Shimah?
I think that's quite a similar question to what I answered earlier. Yeah. Okay. Humor works.
Humor works.
You have to think in the mindset of a child. They like something fun, okay? So, humor.
The next question will be a bit more technical. It's by Victor. He wants to know, does NLB's website categorize the storybooks into these 4 categories so that parents or storytellers can pick from the type of story that their children like?
Okay. At our website, we do categorize. We have a page for early literacy, but we don't categorize read. We have a different category for that. It's play, talk, write, read, and the other one. Okay, I can't remember off the back of my head now because But we have a list of activities and book recommendations into these 5 categories for early literacy. So you can check that out at children and teens at .nlb.gov.xg. So you can refer to that book list for ideas.
Great. Yeah. So I think that's all the questions regarding like the art and the science of storytelling. The rest of them involve like competition details, like can we write our story on a script? Can we combine lines from different books? So I think we'll answer that separately. But thank you for writing in your questions. I believe that is the end of our Q&A, unless Shimah would like to say any parting words to our friends.
I just want to say all the best. Okay. If you really like storytelling, just go and share your talent with everyone, and spread your cause or whatever you believe in through your stories. Okay, and don't be shy. It's like that. When I started telling stories, I wasn't like confident too, but in the end, I built up my skills. So the same thing will happen to you. Okay, so just practice, and all the best for your contest.
Yeah, for sure. And by the way, those that are looking at the slides right now, you can scan the QR code or go to the website link to access it. Also, I'd like to say that like tomorrow is World Environment Day. So yeah, let's this competition and also this storytelling workshop is also partially in celebration of that. So bear in mind, there are many actually eco holidays around the world that you can look out for in case of anything exciting. Yeah. So once again, thank you for joining us today. Just so you know, this session has been recorded and will be posted on our website and social media pages. Stay safe, keep well, have a great weekend, take your vitamins, have showers every day, and happy World Environment Day tomorrow. I'm Xavier and that was Shimah, so have a good one, everyone. And thanks again for our past participants for sharing.